36M. My grandfather owned a business that has been in our family for generations. Everyone in our family has worked or helped out at the business. About 10 years ago, Papa decided to retire. He was starting to have issues with his health. The business was failing due to lack of help and financial issues. My father and his siblings are older and mostly retired, so they didn't want to be bothered with it, nor did any of their children, including my siblings. Said it would be too much work to get it back up and running properly. I took part of my savings and gave it to my grandfather as a down payment. There were a lot of naysayers, including my parents, siblings, and some other relatives, saying how I should have let my grandfather sell the business, thinking he would never see the rest of the money I owed him. Basically, they said they didn't believe in me. Within the first 3 years, I'd paid him off completely, which made the business mine. The business is now quite successful. I have 3 locations, and thankfully my papa got to see the success before he passed. It went from being I couldn't do it to them asking what I was doing with my money because they didn't see a difference in how my family and I lived, so there was all kind of ridiculous speculations. My wife and I have always been humbled about our blessings and lived below our means because there was a bigger picture for us. We lived in a 2-bedroom house raising our family for over 15 years, driving beater cars. I had a home built from the ground up on a nice piece of land I'd acquired. COVID hit and stalled everything. It was finished at the top of this year. For the 4th of July, I invited the family down to celebrate. A lot of my family hadn't seen the home in person, so once they did, the talk of how much I was making came into place. Our home is now a 6-bedroom beauty with 4.5 baths that sits on over 60 acres of land and a private lake. I didn't entertain the conversation. My father brought up the suggestion of me giving a percentage to the family, siblings and cousins. I told him I was my family, as in my kids. My siblings have nice careers, but they also have a lot of debt. I thought that would be the end of it, but it wasn't. Days ago, my mother mentioned it again. I told her that it wasn't up for discussion. She asked why wouldn't I want to share the success of my grandfather's business. I pointed out to her that while Papa may have started it, this was my business fair and square and it's my choice, and that it would never happen. Not liking my tone, she ran to my father and siblings, who have now been texting me crazy texts like I'm selfish and greedy, that I don't care about our family. I've ignored it, but I'm wondering if I'm in the wrong here? Not the idiot. Maybe for Christmas you can get them all copies of The Little Red Hen. This is a good one. Seriously, not the idiot, but you may need to just cut them out of your life. Success makes the ones on the outside so thirsty. And by cut them off I mean full stop, cease and desist, blocking, and North Carolina. Nobody gets more viciously greedy than family. And the great job in buying the business outright from your pop and then getting back on its feet, that was 100% you and 0% them, so that's the only percentage they deserve. Not the idiot. You bought the business from your grandpa with your own money, and all the money and effort that went into it were your own, not your family's. They aren't entitled to money from a business they never contributed to. Not the idiot. It's not their business. You purchased the business and renovated it. They don't get to demand a slice of the cake after you made the cake just because the flour you bought fair and square was owned by Papa once upon a time. Edit. Don't forget to get your affairs in full order because your relatives are the type of people to contest any wills and whatnot. There really isn't a leg for anyone to stand on here if the OP purchased and fully repaid his grandfather for the business. My father is an idiot. When he got my mother pregnant, he wanted her to quit her job and just stay home to be a good little wife and mother. He is very well off due to a trust fund, and he doesn't really need to work. My mother refused and divorced him. Because of a prenup, she got very little and he moved back to Europe. His parents never knew about me, and my mother had a good profession, and I never really wanted for anything. My grandmother and grandfather, her mom and dad were awesome, and I got to spend my summers exploring the wilds of Western Canada with them. My father never paid the child support he should have. Like I said, it did really matter. My mom makes good money and she gave me a great life as a child. So the point of this post. I'm 28F, getting married. I met the love of my life, 31M, at university, and we have been together for 8 years. He is a wonderful person and he really is my lobster. Sorry, Friends reference. His family is from the same city as my father, and they are a huge rambunctious bunch. Because of a lot of intermingled business and personal relationships, my parental grandparents found out about my impending wedding and me, I suppose. They have been in contact and want to come to Canada to meet me and my fiancé, who I guess is a grandson of an acquaintance of theirs. Small world. When they found out that my father had basically abandoned me to fend for myself in this world, this is honestly how they see it, they were pissed, to say the least. It is very funny because we are decidedly upper middle class here. So long story short, they had their lawyer calculate the amount of child support my father should have paid with interest and the cost of my post-secondary education. They then gave me this as a gift. What I didn't know was that it came out of my father's yearly draw on his trust fund. He is furious because it is obviously a sizable amount and it will very much affect his finances for at least the next 2 years. He may need to get a job. He has been contacting me and telling me that his current wife and children will be negatively affected if I don't give him back this money. I don't really need it. And I guess I am entitled to it, and I am getting a trust fund now as well. But I really want to pay off any debt my mother may have and make sure that when she retires, she can do whatever suits her fancy. I'm not giving it back. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. He should have been paying it all along. And your grandparents sound awesome. Your grandparents won't accept it back anyway. It's your grandparents' money to use however they wish. They've decided to gift it to their grandchild and not their lazy son. Tell him this is between him and his parents. Not the idiot. They gave it freely. It is yours. If they were able to give it, it wasn't his money to control where it goes to anyway. That's how a trust works. Update. To answer some common questions. My half-siblings will not really be affected. They have trust funds set up already and their tuition and fees and stuff are covered. My grandparents' family sets these up when a kid is born. One of the reasons my father is upset is that since he didn't bother to tell his parents about me, they did not set this up. They have since taken a good chunk of his trust fund and used it to set mine up. Realistically, the principal being separated 28 years ago would have left him in the exact same position. My mom was working on getting her PhD so she could help kids with certain conditions. That is what he wanted her to walk away from. My grandparents have sent me pictures of my family there. The coolest thing is that my grandfather looks like the granddad from The Parent Trap. My mom never remarried. But she has had a special friend since I was 5. He is amazing and taught me to swear in Colombian Spanish. Update 2. I just had lunch with my mom. Apparently, she has no debt. Like at all. I guess she did literally write the book about the treatment for the kids she works with. She does okay for herself. I never really thought about it. We decided that what would be best is to set up a scholarship for people who want to go into her field of study. Since I am now a trustafarian, I can afford to do this. I am however going to book her and her friend a trip after my wedding. And I am going to go pay off my car. Update 3. My half-brother has posted about this. He has a slightly different viewpoint than myself. He is not in any way coming after myself or my mother. Keep in mind he is a young man who is disillusioned with his father. I have Irish great-great-grandparents. I live in England, as have all of my relatives since 1910. I have recently started to have an American live with me, and she introduces herself to people as Irish. Now, I know Americans do this weird thing where they believe they are where their ancestors came from. We Europeans find this hilarious, but what are you gonna do? Recently, I have been researching my family history and she got involved. She is now saying that I should go around saying I am Irish, otherwise it is disrespectful to my ancestors. The problem is I am not Irish. I am English. I don't know Irish culture. I have never been to Ireland. I am English. I would argue she isn't Irish either since she has never been to Ireland or knows Irish culture, but still, she can introduce herself however she wants. She is getting incredibly upset that I am refusing to say I am Irish, and she has even started to introduce me as her Irish friend. I told her to stop, and she got annoyed. I mean, where do you draw the line on ancestors anyway? Should I introduce myself as African before all my ancestors started out in Africa? No. So, am I the idiot for not saying I am Irish? Official judgment, not the idiot. As an Irish person, I can safely say you are right. She's not Irish nor are you. Americans give themselves a bad name claiming to be Irish due to a vague ancestry. Not the idiot. Here in Ireland we'd make fun of her and call her a plastic Paddy, as in, fake Irish. She's not even Irish herself, so the idea she can take over and decide who is and isn't Irish is laughable. Not the idiot, and yes, to us Europeans, it's a very weird thing lol. When you are that far removed from insert ancestry, have spent generations raised in England or America, Canada, whatever, I don't understand why the need to preface your nationality with that ancestry. Maybe some US people can explain it, genuinely curious and looking to understand.